Hi everyone, and welcome back to That's Mental. Today is another episode of mental health knowledge in less than 5 minutes, and we're going to be talking about how trauma impacts your brain. In my first video, I talked about how traumatic events get hot-wired into your brain and basically your survival mode remains switched on. So let's break it down and explain exactly how this impacts your brain. Imagine there's a major car accident, you do a donut, you come off the road and you crash into a tree. And there you are stuck in the car and you're trying to get out, or you're basically waiting for help to come. Of course, at that moment, your reptilian brain is activated for the fight or flight response. Time to get out. Like as soon as you realize you're gonna have an accident, reptilian brain switches on and is trying to get you out of there. The adrenaline is coursing through your veins, your heart is pumping, your body is ready to flee. Stress is at an all-time high to get you out of this situation, except that you're actually stuck in the car and you cannot go anywhere. Now, obviously, the trauma of nearly dying in a car accident or even just having such a huge accident is going to be huge and stuck with you. And this is where your brain gets stuck in the survival mode of that very moment. This means that every time you get into a car, your brain remembers the danger and immediately switches on this survival response. This means that your entire body and mind start to prepare for the flight. It's your anxiety as well, except that you're not in any actual danger anymore. Like there's no threat to you anymore. And while you may think that you're over the experience, actually your brain is soliciting this response subconsciously without you even being aware of it. It means that your reptilian brain and the stress response is being activated all the time in the background, and you might not even be aware of it anymore because it just becomes second nature. As I explained in some of my other mental health and the brain videos, the fact that your fight or flight response won't shut down is going to cause a lot of physical and mental strain on you. Basically, it's only meant to activate in the moment that you need it and then switch off, which means that your body can relax and everything within you can relax and you can go back to normal. But when it doesn't, then you're constantly alert, and like I said, it creates tension in your brain and in your body. Going through this experience every time you're going to get into a car, or every time you're even thinking about getting into a car, is going to be hugely exhausting and mentally draining. Again, like I said, you might not be aware that this is happening, but it's definitely having an impact. And it's definitely exhausting because it's requiring a lot of energy from you mentally and physically to kind of prepare for flight, right? So whether you're aware of it or not, this is very draining. The crazy thing is that even if you learn how to ignore this, so like I said, you might not be aware that it's happening, but you might be in the beginning aware of it, and you might just end up just pushing it to the back of your mind. And the crazy thing is that even if you have learned to ignore it, it's still happening in the background. And this actually makes it even worse because it means that it's still impacting you. And because you've learned to ignore it, you think it's not a problem anymore, and it's just not even in your awareness anymore. So in a nutshell, this is how trauma or a traumatic event impacts your brain, and why is it differently in a semi-permanent way. I say semi-permanent, I don't mean to scare you. Of course, this can be changed, it can be undone, but it takes a lot of work, a lot of awareness of what's happening to you, and it's basically going to be quite difficult. And that is the crazy thing about how your brain is impacted by such an event. If you, let's say, don't work on undoing this, or you don't have the awareness, because I'm not saying that people are making a conscious choice not to work on resolving this, but basically it means that your brain is going to remain stuck in the past of the time when the event happened. Your brain, your body, and you as well are going to remain stuck in the past of when this traumatic event happened, and it's going to make it really hard for you to connect with the reality of the present. This is a really important thing to be aware of when we think of trauma and people that are impacted by trauma. By the way, I just want to say this is true for all types of trauma. I used the example of the car accident, but it could be emotional abuse, physical abuse, an accident, or just something really horrible that you've witnessed, or even something small like the story I told in my very first video about me being in love with my best friend for a really long time. But all of these things end up impacting you and staying sort of permanently, like I said, semi-permanently with you. So today's top tip: think about how this hot wired response might be affecting other behaviors of yours or other areas of your life. If you can think of an event that might have been traumatic to you, if you've already started this thought process, just try and think, is there something that might be happening in your life or in the way that you behave that is actually a trauma response and is, basically something that was related to this event? If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on notifications so that you know next time I upload a video about mental health. Thanks for watching.